All right, let's do the Rise of Online Cruelty. From friend of the show, Hasan Abihed, Ben Hoerman.
Remember when YouTube was just this? A platform of self-expression. A platform without legacy media flooding your recommendations. No television-level production with the main intention to just generate profit.
I mean, to be fair, when YouTube was just that, it was probably just as racist, if not more racist. Okay? I do have to admit that, because I'm not going to go back to 2007 YouTube and be like, well, that was the beacon of progressive prosperity and good politics.
Good times, man. So, did Mr. Beast ruin YouTube? While I certainly miss the times when YouTube was just about that, you broadcasting yourself, I think someone like Mr. Beast was simply inevitable. Mr. Beastification is the natural progression of a platform driven by spectacle and profit.
Fair. That type of racism was just for the love of the game. Now it's monetized is true. I mean, I think I think a lot of people were just uneducated, had fucking reactionary beliefs and racist, sexist, homophobic opinions, and they would just blurt it out. But somewhere along the line, YouTube realized that it's really good for the algorithm if someone is specifically doing that for visibility. Okay? And obviously there was the whole Joe Rogan pipeline, the Joe Rogan Experience pipeline that went all the way to the furthest right corners, race realists and neo-Nazis galore. And then there was at least a little bit of pushback during Woke 1.0, where people like myself started popping up, H-Bomber guy, all these people started popping up. There was a whole bread tube era. Probably not the best reaction or response to this barrage of reactionary opinions. Let's be real, right? And now we're back in this predicament where there are still so many quote unquote apolitical guys who just are not apolitical at all. They're just right wing, or they lean into right wing sentiment, or they know that they have plenty of right wing audience members, so they never dare attack right-wing opinions. And there's no such restraint when it comes to identifying and attacking left-wing opinions. This creates, once again, that exact same disparity that existed in the initial wave of apolitical centrist to far-right pipeline that existed on YouTube. There are a lot of people who don't necessarily have reactionary opinions, but if that's what they're being inundated with, they inevitably start thinking, well, this is the only normal kind of politics. Yeah, I probably would agree with someone like Hasan on virtually everything, but I'm ashamed to admit that because everyone around me is watching content that reinforces the narrative that this guy ain't shit. He's bad. He's a hypocrite. He's an awful person. And that is how you create a new wave of loyal servants of the right. People who have no intellectual curiosity about a world beyond this limited confine, the limited confines of center right to far right content. It sucks.
But there's always one key part that's missing when I see content romanticizing about the old days of YouTube, or even the internet as a whole. What happens when platforms only driven by spectacle and profit become unstoppable forces? Not just the rise of corporate soulless love colonizing your time, but most importantly, the rise of cruelty. What happens when drama meets real life? In this film, we go through the various stages of structural online cruelty, ending with who I think could be considered as one of the main architects responsible for the rising online cruelty and therefore the rise of political.
Yeah, there is this reality as well. Right-wing talking points is labeled as just being a normal guy. Leftist talking point is you are talking about politics. Yes, Right-wing politics is never seen as political unless it reaches beyond the confines of permissible bigotry, right? Like unless someone is like straight up saying like black people are awful, yada yada yada, that sort of thing. If they stay within a comfortable level of permissible bigotry, where they say, you know what, I don't hate black people, obviously, but they are kind of aggressive and they're poor and they're violent. So obviously we need to do like some level of policing. After all, the alternative is no policing whatsoever, right? I mean, that's so silly. Look at the left. Look at the left. Look at the left. The left is crazy. The left is crazy. That is actually right-wing propaganda. And yet, most people don't read that as right-wing propaganda. They read that as apolitical. They're like, oh, this is an apolitical guy who also is saying the things I'm thinking. And there's a lot more room to breathe in the right-wing direction. Sometimes you can even go further beyond that. Sometimes you can make like dangerous memes, edgy memes, born out of statistical inaccuracies, like 1350, right? That's the next layer. But even then, if someone were to point to that and go, 1350, what are you talking about? And you say, 13% of black people, or 13% of the population is black. They're responsible for 50% of the crimes, which is, again, a total misunderstanding of the data in and of itself, but it doesn't matter. People will go, okay, that corresponds to my internal, my social conditioning, what I do know about society from all the stereotyping and all the things that I've learned. So I'm going to give you a lot more leeway. I'm going to give you a lot more grace when you say this sort of stuff. And at worst, if you're caught or called out, you can just say you're simply joking. Why do you have to be so sensitive? I'm just joking, right? That is the reason why there is just so much bandwidth on the right. You can go further and further and further to the right. And most people will still perceive you as apolitical. Whereas if you are on the left in any capacity where you're like, why are we being so fucking weird about trans people? We go, whoa, you fucking political monster. Don't you know they're weird pedophile groomers? And no, I'm not talking about the president or Jeffrey Epstein affiliates. I'm talking about random queer people. The fuck? That's politics. Just as Call of Duty is never an inherently political video game, even though it's literally about the military-industrial complex, it's only political when there's a black woman on the cover. Things that are political only go in one direction. It takes a lot for something to be considered political for normies on the right. You have to go above and beyond and say heinous shit and hope that the average person at least has enough knowledge, enough understanding of white supremacy and numerous other social constructs and social conditioning for them to pick up on what you're saying as being objectively right-wing propaganda, right-wing agitative slopaganda. Takes a lot of reading. Takes a lot of discipline. Takes a lot of empathy for others, strangers, to be on the left. It's not an easy process.
Cruelty worldwide. Cruelty itself has always been part of the internet. I'm not naive. We all know what the internet is capable of. Like, I don't know if you can remember this, but the case of Amanda Toft. Eyeballed, I know, predatory content creators, swatting, lolcows, doxing cases, and so on. What I want to highlight is the scale and industrialization of online cruelty. How it developed from isolated, unmonetizable, largely publicly despised cases to normalized industrialization of monetizable cruelty. And honestly, this whole video was inspired by this clip from XQC.
You guys are naming people that are like sex offenders and out there racist and fucking like fucking people that promote harm and shit. Yo! That's not canceled! That's the law! That's the fucking law!
Yeah, it's kind of wild that that same guy who has this 10-10 clip, perfect, no notes, then became a fucking monster himself.
When you do a crime, you go to jail! You're not canceled! You're a criminal!
Which, you know, is ironic.
Yeah.
When talking about drama channels, I don't mean like daily commentary channels like Charlie or Pyrocynical. I'm primarily talking about drama channels, who either disguise their bullying as criticism on channels solely dedicated to character assassinations and harassment campaigns.
Wow. Wow, it kind of feels like I'm seeing a lot of my ops in here. Seeing a lot of my ops in here. Interesting. Pegaslop, my biggest fan. More Pegaslop.
Either disguise their bullying as criticism on channels solely dedicated to character assassinations and harassment campaigns. You have to understand that an entire...
He got caught. Please stop. Permaban. Please stop. New lawsuit. Finally done. Finally done. New lawsuit. The N-word. He got caught. Life ruined. Permaban. He's suing. I'm broke. Every single one of these videos is the exact same. Every single one. And every single one of them gets 200,000 views. Which means that people literally come in for that same exact slop every day of the fucking week. I'm broke. Please stop. I fucking quit.
Your industry exists solely focused on destroying someone's life. An industry that was especially thriving during the Gamergate era. And surprise, surprise, it of course disproportionately targeted women online, with the most famous target of countless harassment campaigns being Pokemon.
So when you say your issues, like that's like a heavy word. Like what do you mean by issues?
For starters, do you know how I can prevent myself from crying during this?
Let me start with this. What's wrong with crying?
I've just been crying a lot.
When we look at maybe the most prominent cases of drama channels like Keemstar or Leafy, we see the real-life consequences this can cause. For ruining a man's life for being wrongly accused of being a pedophile, to laughing at people with mental health problems until it's too late.
Look, I do dark humor and I don't kill people like you do sometimes.
Targeted women oftentimes have a specialized form of harassment they have to deal with. Sexualization.
Yep.
This level of cruelty can literally drive someone to ending their life. This cancerous spread of targeted hatred is unfortunately the logical consequence.
And that lolcowing and mass harassment of women. Mass harassment of women has always been like a primary motivator on the internet. It was far more normalized even back in the day, especially during Gamergate, where it reached its like, not peak necessarily because it's far worse now, but lolcowing is a very specific type, like A-logging, lolcowing. This type of shit only existed in like far right internet forums where people could anonymously cyberstalk, dox, and actively try to ruin the lives of people that they were, targeting. Oftentimes they'd find like someone who's autistic, someone who might be trans, right? And some of these websites literally have leaderboards of like who they've been able to drive to suicide, right? It's really dark shit. Except that used to be in, like, you used to have to look for that kind of thing if that was your freak, if that is what satisfied your freakish nature, right? Nowadays, there are entire communities, yes, cyberbullying. There are entire communities dedicated to cyberbullying with content creators that generate income, generate revenue off of cyberbullying other content creators. And it's kind of crazy because most of those people that make a living off of that are unbelievable villains, right? Like, they're heinous monsters. And when I say this, I'm not like exaggerating. So many of them have sexual assault charges, like serious allegations of grooming, lawsuits, like a litany of lawsuits they have to deal with from their victims. And yet their community doesn't give a shit because they are only there. They're only invested. They only generate a sense of community off of targeting others. Okay. Half of the people that are engaging in this also, just like back in the day when people were A-logging on kiwi farms or whatever, the people that are engaging in this are also autistic shut-ins themselves. But that's besides the point.
Consequence. When hate just makes a ton of money. On a larger scale, this gets particularly frustrating when drama overshadows real-life tragedies. Large tragedies being turned into content farmed for online drama. Like in Cuba, doctors are manually operating ventilators in order to keep babies alive. And all online people care about is a rich socialist staying at a 5-star hotel in Cuba. Like, do you hear yourself? Children are being murdered with your tax money by a pedophile rapist president. You privileged canceling woke moralists. I don't care who delivers help, they need help. Where is Mr. Beast? I truly believe that most of them aren't doing this with a calculated, cold-hearted motive. I believe they are so hyper online that they simply cannot fathom real-life suffering anymore. Content demons. It's become physically impossible for them to show empathy anymore. If that's not the case, there can only be one other reason why you would focus on a meaningless drama online instead of real-life suffering. Wait, let's look at the drama channels here again. Do you notice something? Mostly the same targets, same talking points. What do a lot of these targets have in common? Woke progressives, if not even leftists. Do these drama channels, or should I even say channels solely focused on grifting, have a political agenda maybe?
Yes.
I mean, when looking at the Gamergate era, it's not a too far-fetched idea, right? What started as meaningless, apolitical online.
Do you think it affects the youth most now because they are entering socials when bullying is so mainstream? Abso-fucking-lutely. 100%. And it causes them to have like these insane opinions that are not grounded in any sort of political education, any sort of political theory, where they will literally, there are probably a shit ton of people who are pro-Palestine, but are also like Aiden Ross fans, right? Aiden Ross community is probably all pro-Palestine. They all most likely have a litany of different, very reactionary opinions on the subject matter, even though they've arrived at the correct position on the most important one, right? All of that stuff happens because they're being inundated with like these insane, they're consuming some of the worst fucking content on a daily basis. And this is what is driving their political education, which leads to this like insanely incoherent worldview where on the one hand, they're like, yeah, I hate bitches. I hate women. Women ain't shit. I'm also pro-Palestine, but also because the Jews are doing the genocide and you know, at the same time, like we should have healthcare, but also at the same time, like everyone that's advancing that agenda is a woke libtard who I fucking hate. Yeah. The internet culture right now for young people is very cop-coded. They love spending their time enforcing invented norms, rules, speech policing, call-outs, cringe clips, etc. Yes, that too. It goes back to the draconian nature of Western society, but especially Americans. And Americans obviously are guiding what the rest of the world consumes. We produce so much content, we produce so much culture that the rest of the world consumes. So we end up basically redefining people's societal attitudes as well.
Drama delves deeper and deeper into right-wing culture war talking points with clear definitions of.
You've always said women have always had it worse than you in terms of targeting. Do you still feel the same, even post October 7? Yes. Who has had it worse than me? Who's had it worse than me? Morgan, Denims, Casey Tron. So yes. Yes, of course. It's literally, that's the only group of people unconditionally, they get worse hatred than I do. That receive it so much worse than I do.
Groups and outgroups. You could say that the drama channels are basically just the new tabloids, like
it's been happening since you started streaming too. What is this?
Mixing harassment campaigns with
What is this?
As though being a fucking socialist or a leftist on social media, especially on a fucking reactionary dumbass platform like Twitch, is any benefit to me. Any benefit to me whatsoever. If being a reactionary, if being a socialist was actually a fucking positive, was actually going to make me a larger media personality, then you wouldn't be fucking catering to the dumbasses in your fucking chat all day, Train. You probably wouldn't, right? I don't think you're a reactionary alt-right dipshit. but you present yourself as one in most instances when you're trying to talk about political subjects. I wonder why. Because you understand that being a fucking reactionary around gamers and incels is absolutely the fucking cash cow. So don't fucking turn around and call me a goddamn fucking fake or a phony when I've been doing this shit before you were fucking farming Omega laws in whatever the fuck that other Mitch dude's chat, okay? Fuck this shit. I'm out.
Not much has changed, it seems. Look at that. Yeah. Insanely consistent. And the attacks are also the same. And back then, I wasn't fucking popping either. I mean, I was at a fucking daily sub goal of like, not even, this is busted. It's not even correct. It wasn't like a daily sub goal of 100. Yes, I was talking about Trainwrecks TV. Only thing changing is you aging and your hair turning into like a grandpa. The fuck? Bro, 7 years ago, everyone would still be like, you're a fucking woke moralist, grifter, phony. You're faking your political worldview. You're faking your political opinions. Always right too early. Always right, but too early. And you get used to it, okay? You get used to it. Look at that.
Social relationships. Creates a potion that gets life-threatening real quick.
How do you not have a cynical view of the world after doing this for so many years? You want to know why I don't have a cynical view? Because back then I had like, 1,000 fucking viewers. Now I have 30,000. I just did the work. I just kept pushing through. I just kept combating reactionary opinions on the internet in some of the most right-wing circles on the internet. And guess what? I was right. I knew that there were always people out there who felt like they were just leaning into this shit because everyone else was leaning into it. Okay? That's it. I always knew that people were far more empathetic in the real world than the way that they presented themselves online. Online interaction, especially anonymous interaction, breeds cruelty. That's why I firmly believe, genuinely believe that everyone's got a little socialist dog in them. It's just, it's about unlocking that potential. The power of socialism is that we understand why the world the way it is. Cynicism and doomerism is just your liberalism dying. We believe the world will be better, and that's what it means to be on the left. Socialism will win. It's not a question. Yes.
Especially when the target has no security team around them, or if there's an ideological agenda mixed into it. This is a ticking time bomb. This level of harassment is only possible due to other platforms fostering this kind of toxic culture, like 4chan, Reddit, or X. The Everything app. The rise of astroturfing the timeline with often out-of-context clips from clip farms fuels the drama and ragebait even more, giving these channels more content to weaponize.
Yep.
Which forces us to enter a whole other level of degeneracy online. Streaming. Specifically. Damn. That was fucked up, Ben. You know what's also fucked up? Data brokers. That's what I call a smooth transfer. Thank you, Incogni, for sponsoring this video.
You get used to being disappointed. I got into a fist fight because I called W a monkey for invading Iraq back in 2003. Yeah, I've also said this over and over again. Like, if you're a socialist, especially in the imperial core, especially in the United States of America, okay, like you have to you have to realize that you're going to take a lot of L's. You're going to be constantly disappointed. Okay? You should never expect someone to automatically agree with you. What the fuck are we talking about? You're not a liberal. You're not a right-winger. Why would you ever expect someone to automatically agree with you? My expectation is that most people are probably going to either not understand my worldview at all or vehemently disagree with it. So I'm always pleasantly surprised when someone is in agreement with my worldview.
For my bachelor's in design, I actually built a concept around how big data collects and saves our data. That was honestly the first time I really
Yes, this guy's a Hasanabi head. Yes, Ben
understood
is a
how
Hasanabi
much
head.
of our data isn't just being
gotta
stored,
pee.
but also being used to build detailed profiles on us. Our politics, what we buy, what we believe in, who we are, your income, which is particularly embarrassing, all of it being legally sold. The companies doing this are called data brokers. There are actually over hundreds of data brokers out there, collecting your name, address, employer, political beliefs, and so on. Sometimes even information about your loved ones. All this is happening without you ever agreeing to it. That would be weird. As part of my bachelor's research, I found out that removing yourself manually would take hundreds of hours. And after that, they just recollect everything anyway. Incogni fixes this. You give them permission to act on your behalf, they automatically contact all those brokers and demand its removal. And brokers actually have to comply because of laws and rules and stuff. What's especially nice, the custom removals feature. If you find a specific website exposing your personal information, you can just send Incogni the link and an actual human privacy expert gets it taken down. Not an automated request, a real person handling exactly that page. Go to incogni.com/Hoerman and use code Hoerman for a 60% off an annual plan with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Click the link below and claim your 60% off. Thank you once again to Incogni for sponsoring this video. Where was I? Hey, remember the height of prank content on YouTube? Casual racism, assault, sexual harassment, even arrest for fake bomb threats. Now imagine this type of entertainment being even way worse and live streamed on one of the biggest streaming platforms that exists, Kick. Kick was created as a competitive platform to Twitch under the umbrella of free speech and marketed as the creator-first alternative with a 95-5 revenue split. Kick began to gain massive popularity after the company and co-founder Trainwreck started paying streamers on Twitch millions of dollars to migrate over to them. Most notably XQC, Aiden Ross, and Drake? Yeah, he apparently loved to stream online gambling and got paid $100 million per year. But Kick's creation wasn't of course about goodwill or an ideological stance on free speech. Kick was founded after Twitch began to ban gambling streams on the platform. Who were the most prominent gambling streamers on Twitch? Trainwrecks, XQC and Aiden Ross. But wait, paying millions of dollars to streamers, 95-5 revenue split, where does all that money come from? Well, who founded Kick? Next to Trainwrecks, Ed Craven and Bijan Tehrani, co-founders of Stake.com. An online gambling platform. So the company's goal is fairly easy to calculate. The more people are on Kick, the more people could migrate over to Stake.com. So ad revenue isn't their only main income stream, it's also online gambling. The more attention Kick generates, the more profit it potentially generates. And the fact that most of the viewers are minors is of course just a cool fun fact.
I ain't turning down $100 million, bro. You got me fucked up, brother. I'll go on there and I will crypto gamble 24/7, dude. At that point, man, it's the parents' fault. You got me fucked up. Them kids, dude. Fuck them kids.
More in line with the previously mentioned prank content, you have the likes of Neon or Jack Doherty, who dedicated their entire online presence to being a public nuisance. It's obvious that by being a provocative they hope for any sort of escalation, so the moment can get clipped and distributed by paid clip farmers on platforms like Reddit or X, the Everything app. This will boost their virality and attention, therefore more profit. And as the good old prank videos, this type of content is always filled with edginess, racism, or any sort of hate speech.
You're gonna burn in fucking hell, you Jewish.
Goddamn.
And if being a walking sewage isn't enough for you, well then we could go a step further, into abuse.
W in the chat if we should go and punch him up. They all want him to get punched up.
A man arrived.
My name's Harrison. Excuse me, my friend.
Then, sensing something was up, tried to leave, as HS's hangers-on kicked him and rained punches down on his head. They accused him of being a predator. I had no way of knowing if this could be true.
Vitaly, a dinosaur in a content creation space and known for his old prank and harassment content on YouTube, is nowadays known for his predator hunting content, trying to catch and secretly film alleged predators. This, as you could imagine, has led to various cases of physical abuse or cultivating an environment that's...
Dude, everything is so fucked up. Like, how do we look at this stuff and we're just like, this is going in a positive direction? I mean, seriously. It's so fucking ass.
Well, let's say hostile. And if you thought he does the public a favor, this has been proven time and time again that this form of justice only worsens the problems it's trying to solve. And also, by the way, if you really thought this is about his moral conscience of catching pedophiles...
Who did you vote for?
What?
Who did you vote for?
What do you think I voted for?
Kamala?
I did.
Oh, of course, makes sense. Usually all of them are pedos.
Oh, you voted on the pedos?
Yeah.
Not the president and the Jeffrey Epstein, all that stuff?
No, there's no proof on that.
Yeah, there's no proof of that.
Yeah, because every time we catch a predator, they voted for Kamala Harris. I haven't met a Trump...
Speaking of sex crimes and pedophilia, yes, this is also a widespread thing that's happening on Kick. From stream to minors to sexual harassment or even filming the act without the knowledge or consent of the woman and distributing it to the fans via Discord.
Yeah. It's kind of wild that like people now know Kick is like pedophile hunting. Like as a platform where they're doing like quote unquote pedophile hunting. Some of those are like obviously, you know, I assume hired. But there are literally active pedophile rapists on the platform. Like there are content creators who are distributing and generating child sexual abuse material on the platform in their Discord servers. Like that was when Kick first started, there were a bunch of content creators. The meta was you go on these platforms where underage girls are on the platform and you try to quote unquote riz them up. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's disgusting. But they were trying to groom minors into sharing nudes that they would then download and paywall in their Discord. CSAM that they fucking basically paywalled that they would get off of like Omegle and all these other like randomized chat apps. That's what they used to do. I assume they still do it.
I'm 16. How old are you?
Yeah, this guy.
Yes. 14? 15? Damn, that's perfect. You can stand up.
I play with that little 8th grade play.
Wait, listen, how old are you? I'm 19.
Oh.
Yeah, these are the guys. These are the guys that literally do it.
I'm 16.
You said 18?
Yeah.
You could still write this off as edgy pedo jokes. I don't know who the fuck would do that, but you could. It goes beyond making jokes.
Yeah, another right but too early moment for me was when I warned Train about unregulated platforms devolving into Nazi pedophile cesspools. When Kick first started, I told Train very publicly, I was like, look, man, more competition in the streaming space is good for all streamers. Okay? That means that like Twitch has to be a more competitive platform, offer better contracts to his content creators, not drop the ball as much. Okay? So I don't necessarily have an issue with a new competitive platform being born in this field. But I have to warn you that you guys are not regulating your platform at all because you want growth. And when you have an unregulated platform, when there's no TOS, when there's no moderation, it's going to turn into a neo-Nazi infested shithole filled to the brim with pedophiles. And lo and behold, that's precisely what fucking happened with Kick. Okay? That is exactly what happened with Kick. Another moment of being right, but too early. One of the craziest parts about this is like all of the warnings that I issued to both Train and XQC and numerous others obviously at the time were not well received by these people because they were about to fucking generate $100 million contracts, right? So they were like, shut the fuck up. And they basically farmed endless amounts of hate off of me, endless amounts of hate off of Pokimane. They negatively polarized their audiences against myself, against Pokimane, and many others. And what's really interesting is their community obviously also went along with that. They were like, you know, the Hasan thing was a huge meme. They were so mad. Their audiences were so mad. And what's even more interesting is many in their audiences, whether due to their own personal suffering as a consequence of, you know, the gambling debt that they incurred, or you know, a loved one incurring similar, you know, falling by the wayside for addiction, they all literally started agreeing with the initial warning that I had delivered. But they never actually turned around and were like, yeah, why do I fucking hate this Hasan guy? They just never forgot that they hate me, but now they also hate XQC too. It's so strange. It's when I realized, like, people never forget how you made them feel. It's not about what you're saying. It's not about being right. It's about how you make people feel. Okay? So even if those guys now agree with me that, you know, the old XQC, the old juicer, bring back the old juicer, the old XQC is so much more fun. The new XQC is you know, a far worse person and gambling addiction and all the money that he got from the gambling sponsorships certainly played a role in this, which is exactly what I was warning about. They still to this day will be like, yo, you're a terrorist and you fucking actually hurt XQC's feelings, even though I agree with your analysis now. We'll say I didn't like you for a while, but that's dumb. We're all on the same side. Oh, it happens.
It's about pedophilia.
Are you 20?
No, I'm not 20.
Are you 18?
A little younger.
Okay, I'll accept 17. You're 17?
Yeah.
What about you show me your titties? It's a better idea.
I'll show you a picture.
See my screen?
Yeah, unfortunately I can. Is that a 12-year-old? You know what?
Bro, that girl just told you she was a sexual assault survivor, and your next question was, how many bodies do you have?
Wait, was it? On God?
He goes on Omegle just to get girls to expose themselves so that he can secretly screen record it and post it onto a Discord server under an NSFW channel. That is his content.
To be fair here, all PDF files mentioned here have been banned on Kick, but arguably way too late, and many others are still on the platform. This is just what happens when a platform has little to none moderation, cultivates a culture based on outrage, rage bait, and scandals in order to make as much profit as possible.
An investigation has been launched after a French streamer died taking part in a live broadcast on the online platform Kick.
46-year-old Raphael Gravin, also known as Jean Pomenov to his online followers. He had 600,000 followers on the likes of TikTok, also a big audience on the video streaming site Kick, and it was there where he was reportedly taking part in a 10-day marathon live video.
This was
when
so
he
bad.
died in his sleep near Nice on Sunday night.
And I'm really only scratching the surface here. If you want a deep dive into the degeneracy of Kick content, I highly suggest watching Jay Aubrey, Jabroni, Something About Chickens, and more great creators highlighting this issue. So we have a streaming platform that heavily drives off loose moderation, edgy content, normalizing racism, hate speech, transphobia, homophobia, anti-Semitism, assault, pedophilia, sex crimes, distribution of CP, and more. That has even led to a live-streamed death of a man who was assaulted for days in front of a live audience, with little to no consequences for the streamers. While the founder of Kick can oftentimes be seen engaging with this type of content, only for them to make even more money of potentially driving minors into gambling addictions. An addiction notorious for ruining thousands, if not millions of lives, leading to even worse addictions or worse. So,
why isn't any other independent media showed what's really going on? I haven't seen this anywhere else but on here. What do you mean? Dog, every fucking outlet, Every outlet in independent media, on political Twitter, and also even down to fucking CNN is sponsored by Kalshi, Polymarket, and numerous other versions of this exact same thing. They all get paid. They all get sponsored and they all get paid. And that also creates a lot of animosity with people like myself because I'm seen as someone who's fucking up the bag for them. Just as the initial wave of gambling sponsored streamers, who I used to be friends with, by the way, like good friends with, close friends with, all developed tremendous amounts of fucking hatred towards me and towards Pokimane, and farmed a lot of outrage, manufactured a lot of drama, manufactured a lot of hatred on my fucking name, did so not because they had sincerely held disagreements, but because they did not want people to listen to what I had to say. Because if people were charitably encountering my content and then they heard me talk about the dangers of gambling addiction, then all of a sudden their audience is going to be like, well, wait a minute. This guy that you're friends with, who I am also charitable to, is actually making a lot of sense about gambling addiction. They're going to fucking turn around and confront their own content creators. And in an effort to cut that, they just chopped people like myself up. The same angst or the same animosity exists because virtually everyone is sponsored by Prize Picks, fucking Kalshi, and numerous other versions of gambling sponsorships. That's what it is. Everyone is sponsored by it, and therefore everyone has a shared interest in making sure that nobody else fucks up the bag. Everyone else has a shared interest in ensuring that no one turns around and says, this stuff is actually really bad. This is not good at all. We're just like selling vices to people.
How can it get even worse?
Even Destiny's doing Polymarket ads now. You're probably the only political content creator who doesn't promote this shit now. No, literally. This is how people get an ownership stake in this kind of thing. You force your way in, even if people are, everybody has a price, right? That's the meta. That's the concept. And if you can actually buy out every single person that would otherwise turn around and say they don't fuck with this thing, that they think it's bad, then they can all unite. They can all unite around their shared hatred, not for my ideology necessarily. Some of them are obviously ideologically opposed to my worldview, but many others are actually uniting because they see someone like myself as a spoiler, right? Yeah, I become their biggest enemy online because I stand by my morals, stand by my principles. If you're a principled person in a sea of unprincipled people, well, you're going to fucking make everybody else look bad by design. And therefore, everybody else has to create an environment where you're the villain. It's actually good to be unprincipled. It's actually good to fucking make the bag, no matter what the cost is, no matter what the externalities are, no matter what the excesses are, no matter what kind of harm you're spreading. Everyone is actually a hypocrite at the end of the day. This guy is too. And if we can't find something hypocritical, we'll just invent it. We'll just invent something so that people don't actually fucking listen to this guy or encounter his commentary in a charitable manner. Yes, it is a reminder of Matt Christman's Zen fascism. This is what Republicans do all the time. Where Republicans will always say, like, look, you're a beneficiary to the system too. Why are you trying to fucking change it? Why are you trying to constantly complain and make changes in the system? You're benefiting from it as well. Just shut the fuck up and enjoy it, dude. Just enjoy the bounties of being in the imperial core. Enjoy the bounties of not having been born on the other side of the fucking boundary, on the other side of the border wall. Right? Just eat the fucking cheeseburger, do the gambling ad, and shut the fuck up and take the money. Why won't you take the money? They're giving you the money for free. All you got to do is just suck it the fuck up and be like, yeah, I love gambling. It's awesome. It's actually really good. It's the best way to generate, some disposable income. It's the best way to reach upward social mobility. That's what it is. They are basically they're basically enticed to buy into the system. So if you're one of the few people that's on the outside, even though they're constantly trying to bring you in and you're like, I'm good, thank you, right? Ironically enough, that is the real quote unquote red pill, right? The real red pill is to not buy into any of this shit and to be like, I think this is fucked up. I'm going to try. It's virtually impossible for me to live a completely moral life. No human being is perfectly moral. No human being is a saint. Everyone is imperfect. But if you just, as long as you try to live by these standards, as long as you try to live by these values you've set for yourself, you should be doing quite all right. And people fucking freak out at that. They're like, what are you talking about? There's so many opportunities to generate more income, generate more values. Why the fuck would you do that? That's why they will lean into anything they can find. They'll be like, oh, well, Hasan, you used to run ads when you had a contract with Twitch. It's like, yeah, of course. Why is that antithetical to my fucking worldview? Oh, dude, Hasan, you fucking stream on Twitch. It's an Amazon company. You're benefiting from Amazon's web services. It's like, well, it's impossible for me to find an alternative that is ethical. It's just these guys, billionaires and capital owners, own every fucking avenue. Every avenue to disseminate information is owned in private hands. What am I supposed to do? Fucking print out pamphlets at the commune and just like distribute them by hand and give them all, distribute these pamphlets by hand to people with the hopes that they read it? It's ridiculous, right? My homeless coworker also got addicted to gambling apps while he was using. It's all for profit. They don't care how vulnerable the people they hurt are, how successful. It preys on desperation, of course. And there are a lot more desperate people nowadays because capitalism is just robbing everybody blind.
That. Well, when it comes to ruining someone's life, it can't. I mean, we are talking about abuse, distribution of revenge, and CP here. Even a death. So now we've reached a point where we have to go on a more structural, broader level, a more abstract form of cruelty that can influence entire generations, causing real-life domino effects that has the potential to change the lives of millions. There is an ideological pipeline that could start with drama channels or kick type of content that could lead to more extremist ideologies. While there are various creators potentially responsible for the radicalization of mostly young men, I want to highlight one of Kick's biggest streamers here. The guy who, by the way, advocated for a lot of those previously named streamers to be unbanned.
Yeah.
Aiden Ross.
Another judge me by my enemies. Holy shit. This is literally just a wall to wall. This is just wall to wall. All of my biggest ops, dude.
Just to be clear, I am 100% not saying that Aiden is somehow worse than the Kick streamers I've mentioned. And in fact, he's far from that. The reason why I want to mention him now is because of his responsibility of spewing and normalizing an ideology that could potentially end up affecting generations, leading to a more radicalized path.
Andrew! I love you. I mean, like, I love you. I mean, I love you, man. Like, you don't, I know you have a good heart. I love him, bro. I love him with all my heart. I missed you. You got bigger and you got stronger. And also sexier. A massive. I could just tell you have a good heart. You have good intentions. How could you not smile, XQ? He's great. Andrew, please don't go. So all you guys that get to pick your pronouns, my pronouns is kill/them, okay? Fuck all y'all, bro. Y'all are making the world a shitty place, bro. I'm gonna call you either a guy or a girl. I'm not calling you by a cat, by a turtle. I don't give a fuck if you got a tail, a fucking whiskers. I don't give a fuck, bro. I don't give a fuck, bro.
If you're already familiar with the manosphere, I think it comes to no surprise that a large chunk of that content bubble overlaps with kick content and even drama channels, especially when targeted at female creators. I'll keep it short here, as I've already discussed the manosphere on this channel enough, to the point of exhaustion. Kick, drama channels, or god, I haven't even talked about podcasts, are the perfect vehicle for the expansion and normalization of manosphere ideologies. The rise of Clavicula proves how parts of the incel culture have already become mainstream. Many kick streamers aren't just spreading the word of the Tates like subservient missionaries, but also adopt many of their business strategies like online pimping, stealing a portion of OnlyFans models' income in exchange for promoting them, while simultaneously
also shitting on, women across the board and calling them all whores and stuff.
Preaching about the downfall of Western men and society due to club culture, porn, whoring, or body counts. Well, at least they are doing this with their consent. This is grifting, and they are self-aware of that.
You've got 500,000 people on your Telegram, right?
Yeah.
And you're advertising OnlyFans girls on there.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a contradiction there?
No, because I openly say I don't give a fuck and I'm doing it for money. I don't care about
the morality of it.
I know it's not good. I say to people, don't watch porn. It's sad. It's loser shit.
You can't say I promote it, but I discourage people from doing it.
But you can.
Why not try and be a good person?
If I'd just done...
This is also the classic train wrecks argument. I always tell people gambling is bad. I'm actually doing a social service by showing people how bad gambling is.
Good things, I would never have really blown up on social media in the first place.
There's one problem, however.
Little kids, huh?
You always have to adapt your content, otherwise it gets boring real fast. That's the downside of content that relies on shock value, outrage, and rage bait. You always gotta be even more outrageous, more extreme, pushing the boundaries more and more. This is not a sustainable model. In order to not get banned into the shadow realms of irrelevance, you are pushed to do this kind of stuff.
I'm kind of thinking we should bring the Nazi salute back. Because the people we've been arguing with for the last 4 years have no interest in objective truth.
It's so crazy that he's black. It's just none of it makes sense. I mean, him and Myron, they're both black and they're white supremacists. Isn't that wild? He is? Wait, what? You guys didn't know that? Dog. He's from Gary, Indiana. His dad is not only black, but his dad is a famous black chess player. Yes, bro. He's from fucking Gary, Indiana, dude. What do you mean? Yeah, and then he moved to Luton.
Hail SpaceX!
So I became a Nazi, yeah, bitch, I'm the villain.
That is genuinely one of the craziest aspects of fucking Groyper culture, is that it's literally far more diverse. It is more diverse than a DSA meeting, bro. I'll say it. Fuck it. I'll say it, dude. Groypers are there's only one guy in this fucking entire bus, bro. There's one guy that's white in this bus. It's Clavicular. And he's male to male trans. This is technically one of the most diverse groups of guys. Okay? It's insane. Nah, man, you're wrong. His father's black. Wait, what? I'm wrong about what?
when confronting them about this, they'll just say that this was ironic or just a joke. You know, the spineless shit you would imagine. Well, unless you're this guy.
We'll collab this week. Me and Sneak are going to collab this week. We're going to play Fort with Bradley Martin and maybe Aiden Ross, maybe Cheezer. So we're going to be doing our collab. We'll squash it on Tilted Towers.
Here's my advice. Here's a little piece of advice. Be a fucking man, okay? That's the biggest difference. And Tate is so right. It is girls versus boys. The world is being divided now. You've got women and on one side, and you got real on the other. Real men, real guys with real balls. That's the difference. Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. It's your body, my choice.
We're gonna do streamer awards, and we're gonna do the real awards. Nick Fuentes deserves a fucking award, am I right? So we're gonna give out awards to people out on the internet who actually deserve awards.
Look, and we like Aiden Ross. We ride for Aiden Ross. We stand Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross is good. I don't care what anybody says. Aiden Ross is one of the good ones. That's the homie. The Jote, the Jew of all time. The man.
Holy shit. And we thought PewDiePie introducing Ben Shapiro to a young, impressionable audience was bad. Remember the intellectual dark web? Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Eric and Brett Weinstein, Dave Rubin, and...
I mean, these guys also paved the way for these other next wave of dipshits, if we're being honest. One of the greatest grifts of all time, I swear to God, I don't give credit to the CIA that much, but I got to give them credit for this one. They really cooked, was the new atheism movement, okay? The new atheism movement, with some very notable exceptions, like Kyle Kalinske, Secular Talk, shouts out, all were Obama era. They all shit on George W. Bush for, you know, the attack on stem cell research and the anti-evolution education stuff. And then under the Obama era, they just became the biggest Islamophobes. And they never really stopped. An entire generation of people who are like, oh, I just hate all religion, except I also think it's okay to just go and murder fucking random Muslim people in their countries. Sam Harris, the intellectual dark web, these guys all came from that background. Okay? That was the new atheist movement through and through. Bill Maher, still chirping. Hitchens, yep. Is Kyle an exception or simply reformed? No, Kyle never actually leaned into the Islamophobia stuff. A big wave within the progressive movement actually was when Sam Harris debated Uncle Shaky Gurga. A lot of people don't know this because you're probably too young. But I still remember, I was there. Uncle Cenk Uygur, Shaky Gurga, debated Sam Harris on Islam. And it was a huge ordeal in these spaces. Back then, all the hate content that Cenk was getting was coming from Steven Crowder. Right? Steven Crowder would make a lot of videos about Cenk, but there wasn't a lot of like big content creators that were somewhat apolitical or came from this like atheist content background, that kind of thing, that kept saying over and over again that Barack Obama and Cenk and other progressives were actually regressive. Dave Rubin loved doing that one because they were actually pro-Islam. Okay? The edgy new atheist era decided that their number one ops were Muslims, and the Muslims were actually all conservative across the board. Okay, including those who live in the Western world, across the board, all Muslims, the entire ummah, billions of people were all unbelievably conservative. And these guys were the real progressives. And the progressives were actually regressive because they were hyping up Islam. Okay? That's what the meta was. So many young minds were broken. Also, yeah, remind us who popularized the term intellectual dark web. Oh, let me tell you. Her name is Bari Weiss. Intellectual dark web was a term coined at the New York Times by the one and only Israel's most bovine-like warrior, bovine Bari Weiss. That's right. Remember. Yep. Beryl Weiss. She's the one who did the intellectual dark web article. I still remember she called Ben Shapiro the intellectual gladiator of the right. Yeah, here's the Shaky Gurga Sam Harris debate. 3 hours long, 6 million views. This was an atom bomb. Okay? I was at the Young Turks when this happened. This was a motherfucking atom bomb, dude. Lamau, Cenk doesn't understand how probability theory works. This was the video that killed TYT for me. I'm more intrigued by Sam's patience than his intelligence. When I pictured Cenk licking strawberry popsicle, it made the conversation more sense. Sam, we got to think deeper. Cenk, error 404. So happy with how this video was received. These comments give me hope for humanity. Lol, the number of times Sam Harris spends 5 to 10 minutes trying to explain a complex point of argument Cenk utterly fails to understand. Sam Harris's complex point of argument was Islam is a backwards religion across the board, and it's not mere ideology and that the interpretation is up to the individual, but instead, everyone that is a follower of Islam is a backwards monster that deserves to be not punished necessarily, but at least like thwarted, put down, dominated by Western civilization. Now, we know now why Sam Harris used to say that, right? I think nowadays, Sam Harris is maybe not so much of an overt atheist, especially because there's one religious ethno-state that he actually champions quite aggressively. Do you guys know which country I'm talking about that Sam Harris, seemingly the godfather, one of the most important figures in new atheism, which country could Sam Harris be writing for? Oh, that's right. It's Israel. No, it's not Zimbabwe. It's Israel. Yeah. Absolutely crushing it, Mr. Intellectual Dark Web, destroying bad ideas. Why I won't debate critics of Israel. A note to the making sense community. These guys were not presenting an intellectually honest argument. They were just making you terrified of Muslims, leaning in to the social conditioning and the stereotyping that already existed in every facet of media. Because someone had to justify going and waging war and spending $7 trillion murdering Muslims in Muslim countries, right? And that's all they did. They tried to pick apart the wokes. They tried to get the atheist liberals on board. And they did. They did get those atheist liberals on board. Many of them fell by the wayside. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because that meta still exists. Israel is very openly using this meta, as a matter of fact, and many people are either willingly or without realizing falling for it once again. Okay? So there's that. Another target is trans people. For like the last decade or so, it was always trans people. Oh, trans people playing sports, trans people eating ice cream, trans people doing this, trans people pissing in this bathroom. They should not piss in any bathroom. They shouldn't pee at all. It's always just like farming extra cruelty, targeting marginalized communities, vulnerable communities that don't have the same defense system, that don't have the same support system. Right wingers now have their own version of this, but for killing all Muslims. What is this? Frerin would kill your pedo prophet who married a 6-year-old? What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
I'm not fucking kidding. Joe Rogan, right-wing intellectuals, flooding the podcast commentary scene, destroying snowflake liberals with facts and logic. While this multi-billion-dollar backed content bubble, mainly financed by the Koch family by the way, successfully pushed the Overton window back to the right. In 2026, the type of content became quite outdated. Looking at the data here, most of the channels have lost a large chunk of their audience. To understand this, you have to know that the new right in the US is basically divided in two camps here. The classic neoconservatives pro-Israel camp with Ben Shapiro, Ted Cruz, Jordan Peterson, and the America First, 4chan, alt-right, mostly anti-Israel camp who largely felt betrayed by Trump. Important note here, anti-Israel is in this specific case, and yes dear German viewer, only in this specific case, actually anti-Semitic, because we're talking about these guys here. Tucker Carlson,
they're not
Alex Jones, Candace Owens.
These guys are anti-Semites who happen to present themselves as anti-Israel. You know.
And most importantly, Nick
Important
Fuentes,
distinction.
the MAGA party, is being ripped apart, especially after the Gaza genocide and the illegal war against Iran. And no, this isn't a good thing. This will determine the future of the MAGA cult, and therefore not only the future of the US, but of the entire planet. And it actually looks like the even more radical, in parts openly neo-Nazis, are the future of the Republican Party.
This morning, new fallout after the leak of racist text messages linked to members of young Republican groups across the country. The website Politico says it obtained 7 months' worth of messages from a group chat in which racist and anti-Semitic slurs were used more than 250 times.
It's 2026 and Trump is saying MAGA means war with Iran, no Epstein files, MAGA is dead. We are America first. This means nothing. Fuck this movement. If MAGA means Lindsey Graham, Laura Loomer, Barry Weiss, and Netanyahu, and not Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, and Tucker, then MAGA is garbage. It is a dead brand. No young person wants to be a part of this. Nobody is enthusiastic about it, and it is a joke.
We are witnessing the 4chanification of the Republican Party.
And just the internet in general.
The rise of open Nazism. Whoa, stop, Ben. Not everything you don't like is a Nazi. Okay, but we have to agree on something, right? So how about I pull out quotes from no Nazis as a baseline? Can we at least agree that these statements are what you would also call in line with Nazi ideology?
Die Gesellschaft würde sich sofort und dramatisch verbessern, wenn wir die untersten 5 bis 10
Society would instantly and dramatically improve if we took the bottom 5 to 10% of the most R-worded kids out of school and put them all in coal mines instead. Almost all Western cultural problems are derived from adherence to the false god of equality. Who could have said that? The Roach Man, of course.
10% der zurückgebliebensten Kinder aus der Schule nehmen und stattdessen in die Kohlegruben stecken würden. Fast alle westlichen Kulturprobleme sind auf den blinden Glauben an den falschen Gott der Gleichheit zurückzuführen. Diese parasitären Migranten, wir haben eine Infektion. Es gibt offensichtlich ein Problem und es gibt offensichtlich eine Lösung. Aber darüber wollen sie nicht reden. Ich würde diese Typen jeden Tag jagen. Ich würde vor ihren Haustüren auftauchen. Ich würde so brutal zu diesen Menschen sein, dass man sagen würde, das sei zu viel. Ich würde sie beim Flennen aufnehmen. Ich hasse sie. Ich werde keine Träne verlieren, wenn sie Völkermord in ihre Gesetze eingeschrieben haben, selbst ausgerottet zu werden. Das kümmert mich nicht im Geringsten. Sie sind schrecklich! Das steht außer Frage. Sie sind nicht eure Verbündeten, sie sind nicht wie wir. Sie kommen aus einer minderwertigen Kultur.
These are all Asmongold quotes.
Sie steht in direktem Widerspruch zu allem, wofür westliche Werte stehen. Und sie ist in jeder Hinsicht minderwertig. So einfach ist es.
Okay, these are the baselines. With these baselines in mind, let's continue and look at the content of some creators who are representatives of the 4chan America First Gamergate type. Let's start with the most obvious example here.
Yeah, the should worry about what's happening in the cotton fields, right? Go sing your slave song.
Would you say all things considered that the Holocaust is wrong?
If it were real, yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it is. And it absolutely
is.
You're
so fucking spineless. How the fuck can you sit in front of 45,000 people and say that the most well-documented thing that has ever happened in history might not have happened? How the fuck do you know that Jesus resurrected from the dead, but you don't know if the Holocaust happened? Please answer that question. The shrouded turn is a more reliable standard for evidence than the 250
Than the thing that
sources
didn't
that would
happen?
justify that the
Do you know what's happening in Europe and the United States? The white population is being genocided. We don't want to hear any more about your ancestors in the Holocaust. We don't want to hear about it. We don't care. We're in the middle of a Holocaust.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he is an open neo-Nazi. There is no room for discussion here. If you like Fuentes and what he promotes, then at least have the fucking guts and openly say that you're also a neo-Nazi or at least an open fascist. That is why I don't think that Fuentes is currently...
Yeah, the Dean clip is a great example of that quote about fascists fully knowing how ridiculous what they're saying is. Yes, and the moment that you entertain a conversation with them is a moment where you've lost already because they're reveling in the fact that they're just like dancing around. Like there are certain concepts that are especially if someone is like very skilled as a communicator, very skilled as an orator, and Nick Fuentes certainly is. I hate to admit that, but it's true. They're just going to have fun with you. They're just going to dance around the issue. They're just going to be like, I'm memeing, whatever, because they don't have a sense of shame around their worldview. And you can't shame a shameless person, right? Sex Destiny is another great example of this. Destiny also has no shame whatsoever and is a mercenary and will assume any position that he wants in order to make it seem like he's actually dominating his opponent in the marketplace of ideas. And that is virtually an impossible person to debate because they don't stand for anything. They don't have any like real perspectives. Now, Nick does. Nick has an ideology and Destiny has somewhat of an ideology, certainly. Right? But as long as these guys are skilled enough to dance around it, it's not going to be a good faith conversation. So no matter how much charity you show them, it doesn't matter. They're just, the fact that you're even encountering them, the fact that you're even talking to them is enough for them to call it a victory, call it a W.
The most dangerous creator out there, as he's not hiding his real intentions here. If you are in the Fuentes bubble, you automatically out yourself as an open sympathizer of Nazi ideology. This could potentially be too upfront, or actually too openly extreme for a lot of people, especially when they aren't too deep into the online far-right pipeline yet. Fuentes is the end of the pipeline. The most dangerous creator, who currently outpaces all of them in reach and influence, is also someone who has been the most watched Twitch streamer worldwide multiple times and even outranked Kendrick Lamar and IShowSpeed in 2025 in most such terms on YouTube. Asmongold.
I think I'm gonna resolve to become a club guy in Miami. Maybe these Jews and women and blacks aren't so bad. But then they proved me right. My former life of hatred and anti-Semitism is completely vindicated. I am doubling down. More anti-Semitism, more Hitler, more racism, more sexism.
Oh my God!
In the club? Well then, now we're going even harder than ever.
Oh, I love it.
Wait for me?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
Dude, so based. Oh, so based, dude. I mean, this is the fakest laugh of all time. He just has to sit there and fucking act like this dude is incredibly cool because he has a lot of clout. Yeah, Twitch banned me for reading a manifesto of a shooter as part of my job because it was, once again, another breaking news incident that right-wingers were disseminating misinformation on, you know, biased through a biased lens. And Twitch banned me for that. It's awesome. This, on the other hand, the ADL doesn't care about this. The ADL works alongside Asmongold to try to actively ban me. One must think of why the Apartheid Defense League, the Anti-Defamation League, spends a great deal of time and effort and money actively coming after me, a person who has spent his entire professional media career combating the far right, combating anti-Semitism, and of course, understandably, combating Zionism as well. Just interesting.
Wow. I just like, please link this. That was fucking funny.
They are doing it so they can continue to fund these parasite migrants into our country. And by the
It's so funny that like there are genuinely a shit ton of people out there who are busy working. They deliver for Amazon, they do Uber, they do Postmates, whatever. And in their off time, they're watching like YouTube drama farmers and these apolitical content creators that are not like directly affiliated with Asmongold or anybody else or directly affiliated with an ideology. They're watching TikToks. And when they watch those TikToks, those guys are developing this idea that someone like myself is constantly breaking the rules on Twitch and never getting punished for it. Whereas someone like Asmongold is simply a regular dude saying the truth. Sometimes maybe saying it in a boisterous manner. Sometimes going a little too far. But ultimately, he's just a regular dude, right? I mean, he wears a white t-shirt. So I can't possibly fathom that this is a multimillionaire with numerous businesses that he owns, right? Just a normal guy with normal guy takes. Why? Because nobody sees this shit. Because those apolitical content creators, the drama tubers, have not realized that they could generate probably the same amount of clicks if they made these sorts of videos on Asmongold. And it's far too easy for them to lean into the existing misinformation slop factory that exists within the Sexpestiny community that gets base boosted by Asmongold and numerous others. This is how you feed the algorithm. What it takes to feed the algorithm is basically a couple viral hits. A couple viral hits shitting on a guy. Okay? And if those hit, then everybody looks at that and goes, okay, there's an incredible trove of manufactured outrage that we can farm off of shitting on a guy, off of shitting on a dude, without any care or consideration for what that does to the space overall, you know? So they just continue with it because most of these people are amoral. Some of them are right-wing, but most of them are just straight up amoral. They don't care. They're just like, I just want to make money. I don't give a fuck. We don't have the same infrastructure of cyber stalking and A-logging these content creators. We don't have Reddit subreddits dedicated entirely to what these people call snark sometimes. Okay? And that's the reason why these lazy commentary sphere content creators don't have somewhere to just mine from. Okay? That's a big part of it. A big part of it is there are communities that weaponize autism that sit around in my chat, sit around in my fucking community and like clip things immediately as soon as they can. And then they post that to every subreddit they possibly can to try to generate controversy around it. And then people pay attention to it. Most people are lazy. Okay? Most people are lazy. Most content creators are lazy. They don't want to actually develop a worldview. They don't want to do reading. They just want an easy playlist that they can farm hits off of. That's the guys like Yeet, for example. That's all they do. That's what LSF used to do for the longest time. I don't even know if they still are around. I don't know. I haven't, heard of LSF in a minute, right? And their audiences will come in here, just like right now, and go, so like you, know you. I don't do that. I don't have an audience that is dedicated to A-logging Asmongold or Sexpestiny or all these other people and constantly snark them so that I can spend a great deal of time talking about that because I've been live for 6 hours and 30 minutes. If you were a subscriber, you could actually rewind and go back and check. But for the first 6 hours or for the first 5 hours, I covered actual news. That's what I covered. Right? And now I'm actually watching a video that is delivering a broader point about the rise of online cruelty. Maybe you don't like that you're kind of feeling called out here. For me, I would rather have people spend all of their time and effort, not just like A-logging fucking reactionaries, even though there's probably some utility in combating far right, the growth of far right on the internet. But I'd rather have them join DSA. I'd rather have them go door knock for a candidate. I'd rather have them unionize their workplace, make meaningful changes in their own lives. Okay? That's it.
Way for you guys that are in Europe that are watching this, the same thing's happening over there. The West has a huge problem that we have an infection and we refuse to admit that there's a problem. There is clearly a problem. There is
So this is the other side of it, though. You get on this. Yes, A-logging means stalking and harassing people. That's what it means. So you get on this pipeline. You start developing a negative opinion over certain people. Morgan, Denims, Caseytron, Pokimane, me, iDubbbz. Who else? There's like the common villains in this commentary sphere. Like people that are constantly, Anissa, iDubbbz's wife. And Noah Samson to a certain degree. Mike from Pennsylvania to a certain degree. Taylor Lorenz is another one. And basically what happens is these are like the classic favorite villains of a lot of these apolitical guys, these drama guys, right? And so there's you develop an appetite for shitting on these people. You're like, I hate these people. I don't even know why. They're always doing something wrong. And if you're only watching this stuff, if you're only watching that content, of course you're going to fucking hate me. Why wouldn't you? I'm the worst person around. You constantly see me in like 12-second hits in the most negative framing possible. And you just keep seeing that over and over and over again. And you're going to be like, I fucking hate this guy. Holy shit. And if you never actually gander to the other side, if you never actually go, you know what, let me check this guy out for my fucking self, right? What's this guy about? Is he really this big of a fucking villain? There's no way, right? And unless you do that, there's plenty of content that will keep you on that side of the internet, right? And maybe when you first start this process, you're not right-wing at all, right? You start this process thinking, oh, I just hate like bad people on the internet. I love accountability. It's gossip. It's great. It's nothing for me. I'm just gonna, after a long day of, doing Uber delivery driver shit, I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna eat my fucking microwave meal, and I'm gonna throw YouTube on. And then there's just like this barrage of content that I'm just gonna mindlessly consume. And maybe I'll just like check in on what's going on in the world. I'll develop somewhat of an understanding of what's going on in the internet drama sphere. And when you get on that pipeline, you might be like, yeah, why the fuck am I doing this gig economy job? I have I have a Bachelor of Arts and Sciences. And you have certain opinions. You're like, I don't really fuck with my landlord. Why won't, I've been asking my landlord to fix my AC. It's 100 degrees and this motherfucker still hasn't. And you have these certain experiences and you're starting to develop certain political attitudes, certain political opinions. But if the only people whose content you're consuming are telling you guys like me are wrong and bad and evil villains, without realizing it, you start slowly but surely moving in their direction politically as well. Because they don't just stay at Hasan is bad, Hasan is a villain, fucking Morgan sucks. She's getting dominated. Look, she's getting owned. And you're watching that and you're like, you're celebrating it now. You're like, okay, I've realized that like these people are real villains in society, and seeing them in pain, in like awful, seeing them in awful conditions makes me feel a little bit better about how shitty my worldview is, right? But slowly but surely, they're also telling you something else. One, they're distracting you with this shit, okay? But then also, maybe you're watching the other videos where Asmongold is reacting to migrants doing mass rapes or something. And you're like, wait a minute. That does make sense. And before you realize it, you're getting fucking red pilled. And it's not, red pilling is not a positive thing either. They're actually brainwashing you. They're actually getting you to be distracted. And before you know it, instead of blaming the people who actually have control over your life, blaming the system, and then maybe even organizing to fight back against it, to claw back some autonomy in your life, you go down this pit of despair, and slowly but surely you become more right-wing. You become more reactionary, right? And when you're in this pit of despair, the only sense of community that you gain is by more and more of this content. Okay? You are giving into the red pill community. Hasan, what the fuck you doing? Wait, what? What are you saying? It forces you to be more antisocial. So you lose your sense of agency. You become a part of a broader movement and it makes you feel good. There's a level of warmth there where you're like, well, I have a community now on the internet. Maybe you're going to a Discord server, right? And in that Discord server, you're like tuning in and you're learning more about the deep, intricate details of the lives of these people that you fucking despise. Okay? And maybe you yourself start searching for more information about this person, right? On the internet. And now you're a part of that movement. This is giving you a sense of community, a sense of purpose in your life. Okay? You now need to be a part of this community. You want to be a known individual in this community. You want to show that you have value in this community. So you start becoming a loyal soldier. Maybe you start making sock accounts. You start going and fucking saying shit in their chats, right? And then you clip it. And then you send that clip to like one of these other clip aggregator accounts. And then they post that clip aggregator account. That clip aggregator account posts that video. And then Asmongold reacts to that video. And now you feel good because you're like, oh, I did something. I'm valuable. I'm serving this community that I'm a part of. Not realizing that you moved every single day, you moved a million steps away from a much more productive and much less depressing worldview where you could have been out and about in the real world, organizing, meeting other people, doing something with your life. And you find yourself increasingly more angry, okay? More frustrated, more depressed. Because day in, day out, you're doing this miserable thing. And that miserable thing is the only thing that gives you a sense of purpose aside from your shit-ass job that you fucking despise. This is how people lose themselves on the internet. Okay? This is how people fall down the right-wing radicalization pipeline. And slowly but surely, they start embodying the rest of the ideology of the community that they're a part of. And the ideologies of these communities are unbelievably far right, constantly blaming fucking transgender people, migrants, liberals. They're all responsible. Women are the reason why you don't have what you were supposed to have. Because you were born for a purpose. You were put on God's green earth for a purpose. This can't be all that you do. Okay? So someone has to be responsible. It must have been stolen from you. Okay? Someone stole your purpose from you. And that's got to be feminism. It's got to be wokeness. It's got to be transgender people. All of these people have the exact same class interest as you. They all want a roof over their heads. They all want comfortable lives. They all want to put clothes on their backs. They want to be able to own a home at some point in their lives. They want to have more autonomy in the workplace. And yet here you are, instead of looking at this robust and cruel design of society, the systemic factors that have robbed you of your potential, of who you were supposed to be, instead of blaming those who benefit from the system, you find yourself blaming other people, people who either are objectively successful while simultaneously trying to get you to wake the fuck up to the reality, myself, right? Or people who are even less successful than you, someone you can look down on to make yourself feel powerful. This is not healthy. It's not productive. And unfortunately, this is the grand design. This is how you divide the working class. This is how you destroy solidarity. This is how you make sure, this is how the wealthy, the billionaires, the millionaires, the capital owning class have successfully divided and conquered the working class. Okay? That's it. And before you know it, you have nothing else going on. So the only thing you have is this fucking poison that makes you feel a sense of community, a sense of wholeness, a sense of purpose. Meanwhile, it's literally rotting your fucking soul.
Clearly an affliction, and there is also clearly a solution. But they don't want to talk about that because it might make them feel bad.
You think about killing random people? Yeah, all the time. Oh, constantly. All the time. Yeah, if somebody makes me mad or something like that, yeah, of course.
As so often with these types of political creators, they actually started with a completely different type of content, which made them popular. While Asman has always primarily been a gaming streamer, he was ultimately one of the edgier ones.
Now, I was in high school at the time that Hurricane Katrina happened. And a lot of the displaced people from Hurricane Katrina went to my high school. And they would all wear the same t-shirts, and they were fucking animals. Every single one of them. Honestly, the hurricane could have done a better job. I fucking hated him.
Until two specific events on the internet really pushed him to the person he is today.
Wokeness in video games.
Gamergate and the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. Especially his coverage of the trial exploded Asman's viewership.
It's a crazy person, right? And this is the problem, is that like whenever you're dealing with a crazy person, you never know what's going to happen. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what they're going to say. It's awful.
Asman is the perfect representation of the modern online right. Lonely, mostly white, young, incredibly online, socially isolated, angry.
I don't know if they're mostly white.
Man. It is one thing, being a member of a community as most of them fell victim to the slow radicalization process by admiring a creator they have a parasocial bond with, while also having rightful frustrations with a system that fucks all of us, but who are being misled into meaningless cultural bullshit. It is a totally other thing, however, when the agitator not only leads the community further down this radicalization process, but fucking profits from it.
I don't need to understand whatever article you want me to read. All I need to understand is human psychology and incentives. And incentives and human psychology are the deciding factors of how people will behave. I don't need to read your little special book or your Wikipedia article or anything else besides that. None of that stuff.
Yeah, this is the other side of reactionary thought, by the way. It's highlighting... it's highlighting a lack of interest and a lack of intellectual curiosity as a virtue. It's actually virtuous to be disinterested. You know, It's mass producing Dunning-Kruger. I'm not very smart. I'm against this intellectual nonsense. I can just I can just figure this shit out. You know what's funny about this is Andrew Tate did this as well. And if you recall, when I had a conversation with Andrew Tate about this, he basically revealed his position. And I mean, he's expanded on this as well. That famous viral clip where I'm like, how do you know the world is not flat? Did you take a spaceship to space and look down and recognize that the earth is not flat? Because he's not a flat earther, right? And I knew that. So I wanted to ask him, like, how do you know the earth is not flat? It feels flat, right? And that was a moment where he knew that there was no defense for what he was saying, right? And basically that is the counter argument for a lot of these people, where it's like, you can't develop a worldview just by, with your own personal thoughts and with anecdotes. It's not a productive way to approach society. It's not a productive way to understand the world. There are billions of unique experiences that you're not privy to. And the only way to get privy to those experiences is by reading, by broadening your horizon, by, traveling around the world. But because that's not accessible for a lot of people, I think people like Asmongold basically give comfort to those who don't want to read, find it to be boring, don't have the finances to be able to travel and encounter other culture, stuff like that. So their whole worldview is stuck with these guardrails on the internet, these algorithmic guardrails. And that's all they need. And this kind of sentiment actually gives those people comfort. Like, oh, you should be comfortable in your lack of interest, your lack of intellectual curiosity. It's just common sense. It's common. Everybody feels this way. You are not alone.
Matters. What matters fundamentally is, how do people act, how do people think, and how do people respond to incentives? If you can understand that, then nothing else matters. It's pretty simple.
You're either a self-aware closeted far-right extremist yourself, or in most cases probably, especially in Asmon's case, just the dumbest, most unaware, immature.
I mean, that is like a perfect distillation of exactly what I was talking about. 7 hours ago, clipped on live stream fails. Hasan political commentary about white people in Japan. I'm making a joke. I'm a white person in Japan, right? I make a joke. They take it. They frame it in this like super negative manner. They brigade it. Everybody goes, oh my God, this guy's a real fucking anti-white racist. Asmongold does, 45 minutes on how anti-white racist I am. All of a sudden, the very same people that maybe in a different timeline would have laughed at that are now thinking, you know what, I do hate this guy because I've already learned that I should hate this guy because all of these other people in this community that I'm a part of now also hate this guy. So he's not capable of fibbing, making a joke, being insincere, being hyperbolic, embellishing. He must actually sincerely hate white people. And you are literally being socialized into thinking that there is like a sincere effort out there amongst people who are actually trying to generate anti-white hatred. Now, you believe that. You didn't believe that yesterday, but now you believe it. You're like, yeah, you know what? Anti-white hatred is a real problem. After all, my favorite content creator is saying it is. After all the other people in this community that I'm a part of are talking about it, right? So that must be real. That must be a real thing. Well, I'm a white guy and I feel fucking kind of mad about this. We are we're very easily manipulated, and we don't realize how easy that is. Like when someone extends an open hand, a warm welcome, and a sense of kinship, a sense of community, that goes a very long way. Unfortunately, leftists hate doing that. Leftists love being as repulsive as they physically possibly can be because they mistake that for moral purity, unfortunately. Okay? Let's be real. We do that quite a bit. We like to be off-putting a little bit. Sorry. And we mistake that for being, morally pure or morally righteous. It's very tough to organize on those boundaries. Okay? But in any case, your enemies, both on the internet and in the real world, don't do that. They always welcome people with open arms. One of the most common memes around this meta is the classic one where a Nazi will never say, "Oh, it's not my job to educate you." Okay? A Nazi will never say, "It's not my job to educate you." A Nazi loves that opportunity to educate you. Okay? A far-right figure or right-wing figure will sit there and tell you till the motherfucking cows come home about how, all of these third world migrants have come here to demographically replace you, and how the only reason why you don't have a high-paying job is because of that demographic replacement that took place. And they'll fucking chew your ear off. We can't be the type of people that sit around on the opposing side of that and go, I can't do the emotional labor. I'm sorry. And I understand that there is an emotional imbalance there too, right? Because obviously it doesn't take a toll on the white supremacist, oftentimes a white guy, to explain these concepts to other people. Whereas if you're transgender, if you're black, if you're brown, and you want to describe white supremacy, or if you're transgender and you want to describe the negative consequences of transphobia, of course, you are basically at that point justifying your existence, right? But we have to overcome that. We have to. That's why I always tell you guys, you have to sometimes take on that emotional labor. You just got to do it. We have to do it. Look, I do it for Islamophobia, right? All the fucking time. I eat it on a daily fucking basis, right? Now, when I just said that, I'm certain that many of you turned around and said to yourselves, and some of you will type it in a second in the chat, well, it's different. You're rich, you're privileged, you're white. You're looking for excuses, okay? I didn't say it's harder for me to take on the Islamophobia than it is for you to take on as a black person white supremacy, okay? I know it's harder. I'm just saying we all have to the best of our ability, try and explain these concepts to people and be normal, okay? See, you're so fucking white, my dude. Anyway, let's continue.
The dumbest, most unaware, immature Hurensohn, like the good little bootlicking ficker they are. Even when stripped any ideologies whatsoever. I can't for the love of God understand how anyone would look at someone like that and not be utterly repulsed by it. Even if you like his politics.
Like, if I knew that I could get these people deported and sent back to fucking Guatemala or Somalia or wherever the fuck they came from, if I knew I could do that, I would take a break from my stream. I'd stream less so I could do that all the time. Like, I would be packing these guys up every day. Oh no, I'd show up at their house with the ICE agents. I'd show up like Ash Ketchum. I'd say, guess what? Guess what? Get your shit. Nah, bring your family too. Let's go.
Like, this is just monetizing cruelty. At a certain point, you got to realize this isn't even about politics. You're just a bad person, right? And unfortunately for us, in this day and age, this is what politics has become. It's just monetizing sadism. Like, what utility, what purpose exists there? Like, how are you making society better? Like, you're not even presenting an argument as to why these mass deportations are going to somehow clean up the streets or anything. At that point, you're literally just saying that the joy is not coming from this dystopian future where we have a purebred white society. The joy is coming from the fact that you're punishing people who are, black and brown, punishing people who are migrants. It's so joyful. This is bully behavior. It's pure sadism. And I think a lot of people get to a certain point in their lives, as I gave you that monologue about the pit of despair and how you find yourself there. And it makes you so depressed and so angry at the world that you just want to share that anger with others. You want others to also feel a sense of the resentment that you experience on a daily basis, where you're like, everybody looks at me weird. Everybody fucking hates me. I'm a fucking loser. I'm a chud. And I shouldn't be a chud. But if I have to feel this pain on a daily basis, then I'm going to make it my life's mission to make sure other people also fucking eat shit too. And I think that's very sad. It's not a very productive way to live your life. But I do think that that is exactly what these sorts of communities generate. That's exactly what these communities foster, right? And when you're getting your sense of purpose and your sense of community from these spaces, and the only warmth that you ever feel is the shared purpose of disseminating the hurt that you feel on a daily basis, then yeah, you have no other outlet. You have no other opportunity. All you got is trying to harm others, writing a mean comment on the internet, anonymously under someone else's fucking YouTube video, or on their Twitter. Are you aware that APAC mold is mentally ill, right? Because I never see you bring that up. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, he's not all there, but who cares? No one is fucking normal. Now, I'm mentally ill. You know what I mean?
Oh, boys, come on. Get in the van.
I also don't want to see that as like, I don't want to even give that as an excuse. You know what I mean?
Man, gotta catch them all. That's right. I would do this, and honestly, I'd make videos about them, like other, and I'm gonna be real. Like, I would be so brutal to these people. People would say it's too much. I would be filming them crying, walking out, getting dragged out.
By the way, this is the LBJ quote. If you show the lowest white man that he's still higher than the highest black man, they'll open their wallets for you. Okay? That's what this is. He is teaching his audience that there are those who are worse off than the people who experience real struggle on a daily basis, people who actually feel a lot of pain, people who feel a sense of loneliness, people who lack purpose in their lives and kind of recognize it. And he's telling them, like, yeah, your shit sucks, but guess what? There's other people we can be fucking cruel to, and they're underneath you. And as long as you recognize that they're beneath you, right? You recognize you're above them. You have someone to look down on. Okay? And it's easy. It's cheap. And people fall for it. That ideology, that is the primary motivation for historic reactionary movements, and certainly still exists in modern day as well. Yeah. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. That's what Lyndon Big Dick Johnson said. Oh, here's replied. He said, I've spent hours covering the UK grooming gang reports. I have zero sympathy for people who are downplaying it and calling it bullshit. The atrocities against those children and the years of authorities covering it up are disgusting. Epstein defender, by the way.
I'd put like Pokemon theme music over it. I'd do the whole thing. I hate them. I hate them. I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us.
They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways. It is that simple. This low-income, ignorant, delusional, brain-dead, third-world importation of all of these illiterate people that can't speak English, that have no fucking skills, live off the government, and are effectively parasites on the United States of America is a class war.
As you might have already guessed, remember the baselines? The quotes? I lied to you. These aren't quotes from Goebbels, Göring, or Himmler. They are all from Asmongold. And don't bitch out by saying, well, but the context matters. The pathetic cowardice of people demanding context of these clips are hiding their real intentions here, rationalizing, looking for justifications of his ideology and therefore theirs. The difference between the Asman and Fuentes audience is simple. Asman's viewers are just closeted fascists. Then again, a core tenet of fascism is making weak men feel strong by executing violence against others for them.
That's the other thing. Fascism is the perfect chud ideology. If you're a fucking chud-ass loser, fascism is so perfect. And it's always been. Historically, every fascist movement, the backbone of every fascist movement has always been rudderless men who feel like they have no sense of purpose in life, who have been told that they were supposed to be destined. They were told that they were destined for greatness and they never achieved that greatness. So now they're angry and they're lashing out and they have to look at, like they have to look down on people, right? That's what it is. That's always what it is. And there are plenty of people who fall into this. There are so many people who fall into this mentality because there's just no one out there who extends them a helping hand at any step, at any point, and slowly but surely they just go down this pit of despair and become horrible monsters at the end of it.
The ultimate daddy issue cockchair. The point I'm trying to make in this entire video here is to show you that the manufactured outrage, the pushing the boundaries more and more, making edgier and edgier jokes, being as controversial as possible. This tactic of content creation not only mirrors the main tactic of the modern far-right, but is also the main recruitment strategy of modern fascists. Pushing the extreme normalizes the obscene, political extremism, and pure cruelty. Unmoderated, edgy content radicalizes. And the White House knows this.
Yeah, before you know it, cruelty becomes the point. Like, the chief characteristic of the mass man is not brutality and backwardness, but is isolation and lack of normal social relationships.
This development of the internet is not a coincidence. One person clearly understood all of this, unlike the rest of us. The Leni Riefenstahl of the Tea Party, as the founder of Breitbart called him. Steve Bannon, one of the main architects of the modern far-right. Bannon knew that by being able to influence culture, we are also able to influence politics. Mobilizing angered gamers during the Gamergate hate campaign was his first successful test ground, together with Milo Yiannopoulos. He saw the potential in politically mobilizing a huge online army, and it didn't take long for other creators to notice that manufacturing outrage was like hitting the jackpot. What had initially been niche hate forums on 4chan now infects the White House. Even though Gamergate has been discussed to death, I don't think that the majority of people realize the massive ripple effects it caused. It's of course bullshit to attribute the rise of fascism solely to phenomena like Gamergate, as I mentioned in the new Aesthetics of Fascism. The main reason should be blamed on neoliberalism and therefore the losing trust in the democratic system. Fascists exploit this by tapping into that collective frustration. They amplify the feeling of despair by manufacturing more and more outrage. That amplified anger can now be turned into moral outrage instead of facing real systemic issues. That moral outrage, culture war, is a self-sustaining machine. The protecting capital interests. We lose ourselves in individual moralism, cancel culture drama bullshit, while losing parts of our humanity in basic decency in the process.
That's the other side of this also, is that it's all cancel culture all the way down. And it's really funny. Like, the right constantly made a killing talking about how cancel culture sucked dick. And now that's all they do. And they did that back then too, but they were simultaneously also calling it out when the left was doing it or the liberals were doing it. And it's so funny that that is straight up exactly what they do. They manufacture outrage. They make up shit if they can't actually find anything sincere or serious. And then they just keep hammering it over and over and over again. And that makes them feel more morally righteous, even if their worldview is horrifying. Okay? And no, I'm not talking about the Dixie Chicks. I'm talking about the actual, like, think about it. I used to joke about this all the time. Contrary to popular belief, there's one streamer who has been victim to more cancellation attempts than any other right-winger. It's me. Think about how many times, even to this day, when Fox News is doing that shit, when Congress is actually trying to put together a bill to specifically deplatform me, I've had not one, not two, but 3 different congresspersons. The entire country of the United Kingdom canceled me, right? Don't say me, 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 me. The reason for why that's happening is not because I'm fucking awesome or dope and I'm just saying like, oh, I'm the biggest victim here. I'm just saying that I am a prominent leftist figure on the internet. And that is precisely the reason why I go through this process on a daily fucking basis. Right? Like, think about that. This shit has never even happened to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan made a living. Joe Rogan made a career off of rallying against cancel culture. Joe Rogan never got banned from the UK. Sure, they yelled at him for fucking saying he was taking ivermectin. That's it. Bitch, they call me a terrorist on Fox News on a daily basis and on CNN. Where's my fucking $250 million Spotify check? It's not coming, and I'm not expecting it. My point is, okay, high horse much? Law? Come on, dude. Think. Think about this. Throughout different periods of civil struggle in this country, actual First Amendment violations have only gone in one direction. Only one direction. And that's not the right. There was never a Red Scare propaganda for the far right. It was for communists. There was never a law that was designed that dictated that you could never be the head of a labor union if you were a communist. The government assassinated black revolutionary leaders. Wake up. Cancel culture, or the real version of this, which is the government trying to chill speech, only goes in one direction. For the right, it's a rallying cry. They'll say, they're attacking us. They're taking away our voice. The algorithm is suppressing our content, our commentary. While they're backed by powerful forces, billionaires and millionaires, they give them millions of dollars. Ben Shapiro's entire operation is fully funded by petrocapitalists from Texas. Every fucking week, every day, some dumb fucking organization attacks Hassan for being right. They lie, make shit up, slander millions, billions if you include infrastructure and news orgs trying to smear Hassan for telling you the truth about genocide being done by U.S. allies and client states. Yes. That's it. That shit don't happen on the other side. Charlie Kirk, yeah, okay. Great question. Now, if you believe that Charlie Kirk got killed by Israel, then okay, I'm not going to stop you. I don't believe that. I'm not going to stop you from believing that, but I don't believe that. But that wasn't a government initiative, in my opinion. My honest and humble opinion, that wasn't a government initiative. That was allegedly one guy. Okay? But even then, Charlie Kirk was a proud advocate of the First Amendment. And yet, Charlie Kirk also had, famously, a website that Turning Point USA funded that would identify college professors in every college campus where you could just create user-generated content where you would snitch on your professors for being radicals. Not exactly a great advocate for First Amendment, if you ask me. Now, of course, I still carry the flame. Make no mistake. I carry the flame every day. Get the level 10 hype train, I can carry the flame twice today. We can all carry the flame.
This is a bipartisan issue, by the way. And I'm of course not saying that Bannon is directly responsible for the hate-fueled drama channels or the edgy, outright illegal content on Kick. He just understood the online gaming culture and the potential in co-opting this toxicity in order to mobilize a group of young men online. Even the 4chanification is an openly stated strategy of Bannon. Loose moderation has become a political strategy of tech bros in Silicon Valley after Trump's second term. Especially after Musk's takeover of Twitter, the niche Groyper hate forums on 4chan finally breached containment and flooded the mainstream timeline. Combine this with Charlie Kirk's assassination and you've got a power vacuum among the young Republicans, ready to be filled with the Groyper 4chan movement led by Fuentes. We must face the reality that there is no separation between the digital and the analog anymore. And Asmongold teaches us more about our political zeitgeist than a 1-hour debate of political scientists on TV. Everything you hear on the world stage has already happened ages ago on the internet. Online culture is literally in the White House. So no, it isn't Mr. Beast who ruined YouTube. It's the Epstein class, funding the modern fascists in order to distract the public with cultural bullshit from what actually matters. Capital. This progression of industrialized cruelty has always been inevitable. Steve Bannon. Just perfect the game.
Yeah, if you were like pushing apolitical slop right now and had no principles, you'd be a centimillionaire that was beloved in mainstream media. No one would bat an eye. It's because you try to push leftist principles that everyone's on your ass. Yeah. I mean, dude. There are people who have great politics who shy away from revealing them, and they're still beloved figures on the internet. Markiplier is a great example of this, right? Like, Markiplier has a lot of great opinions, okay? But he's never made the mistake of coming out and being like, I'm a socialist or anything like that, okay? And that's part of the reason why everyone always cherishes the things that he does. And it's great. I'm happy. I'm like, I don't have any issue with that. I don't want him to come out and be like, I'm a fucking socialist, fuck capitalism, all this shit, okay? And then there are those like Billie Eilish who are way more open about their politics, right? Wait, are you not a centimillionaire? No, what are you, fucking insane? Of course I'm not a centimillionaire. Are you out of your mind? So there are people like Billie Eilish, for example, and people fucking despise her. Now, part of the reason why people despise Billie Eilish is because, you know, they're Taylor Swift fans, I think, or I don't know. There's like some stan culture shit there. I'm not super tapped in, right? But the other part of the reason why a lot of people fucking despise Billie Eilish, aside from the fact that she's a woman, is because she's outspoken. So when you're outspoken about your politics, and when you're daring enough to say a better future is possible, and I think the super wealthy need to give back more to make that future happen, people go, fuck you. You're fucking rich. Fucking kill yourself. Like, we have this unbelievable resentment for people who look at the current design of society and say a better future is possible. It's so strange. It's so strange. Is it crabs in the bucket mentality where we immediately attack people because we've built this like insane level of cynicism by, I think, being online, too much, because that's where this is. That's where the cynicism is bred. That's where this nihilism is bred. Okay. And it's very interesting that a lot of people who would otherwise be like woke or whatever get fucking geared up by people who are objectively not woke. Leftists get duped by the right all the time. For the longest time, the if you don't like it, leave this fucking country mentality that I received my whole career only came from the right. It came from Steven Crowder. It came from Ben Shapiro. Now I hear that shit from liberals. Okay? For the longest time, the idea that if you were in any way, shape, or form trying to advance progress in society, that you were a hypocrite if you were in any way, shape, or form financially successful while trying to advance a better society was hypocritical, only came from the right. It's an inherently reactionary opinion. And yet, so many leftists, self-identifying leftists, have identified with this message. It's very interesting. So what's the alternative? If someone is successful, if someone is rich, they should just shut the fuck up and enjoy the benefits of wealth. They shouldn't try to advance society. What are you talking about? Because that's what you're demanding. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying should happen. Okay.
Hasan and I are gonna go see Disclosure Day together. Let's go, dude.
Okay.
10 minutes.
Okay, I'm about to end it. There's 2 minutes left of this video.
It's the game that is sick, and that sickness is monetized spectacle
I'm ending it. It's
fueled
2 minutes
by
left.
algorithms, monopolies, and the accumulation of wealth caused by the virus, which is... You know this as well. You just don't like the big bad C word. Those in power will do everything they can to protect that.
All right, I gotta go.
If that means mobilizing fascists worldwide. No, not because capitalists are just greedy and evil people, but the system.
Yes, I lied
that
about
produces
gaming.
them.
I'll see you tomorrow, guys. All right, I gotta go. All right, everybody. Peace out. Okay, peace. I can't even finish it. No gaming. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow. That was a great video by Ben, friend of the show, Ben. Go check it out.